And the same goes to Dr. Lederreich on your simcha. I don't know whether Dr. Lederreich is with us today.
He is. Yes, Rabbi, he's on.
So Mazel Tov Ma'omek Halev to Soraleya Bas. I do not know her name. She too should be Zoicha Livnus Bayis Godel B'Yisrael. So it's Reb Shlomo's son, the Pesach's daughter, and Baruch Hashem, we have Simchas on board. Today's shir is also dedicated Leilui Nishmas Moras Rocha Leah B'Seb Chaim Moshe Kohen, the mother of my dear friend Chaim Orlinsky. Chaim is actually sitting right next to me, right here. So this week he attends the shir in person. He's sitting right across me, right next to me, and the Ortsite is tomorrow night. So today's shir is also dedicated. I knew Chaim's mother very well. She was an amazing person, a Holocaust survivor like my parents were, like Shlomo's parents were, and these were very special people. So the Torah we learned today should be Le'ilui Nishmos, should be a Malitzas Yoshar for the wonderful family V'tenuach B'Sholom Al Mishkava. These people, that is the ultimate heroism, the ultimate greatness, having gone through what they went through, and they found the koyach to rebuild life and to bring a new family to the world and to be megadol and Baruch Hashem, Doris Yishorim Mivarochem of B'nai Torah and Anshe Masa, Baruch Hashem. So, Mazel Tov to the Garazmins and Mazel Tov to Dr. Lederreich and his family, and Le'ilui Nishmas Rocha Leah B'Seb Chaim Moshe Kohen. The topic we will be discussing today is extremely specific. I asked my son-in-law to send a new addition to the Mara Mekoimis. But before we start learning today, I have to notify you a notice that will not make you very happy. Baruch Hashem, everything is fine. I'm well, everything is fine, but it's going to be quite a while since we're going to have another shir. Don't be shocked. Don't fall off your chairs. Chodesh Elul. Because next week I'm in Europe, Sunday. After that is Shavuos B'Tammuz. After that, I'm in America. No. After that, I'm in America. And then Tisha B'Av. After Tisha B'Av Ben Azmanim, like every year, I spend time in Europe. Maybe we'll try to work out some connection while I'm in Europe. But Lecha Oira, we're going to have to wait some time till we have the next year. Lecha Oira, it'll be approximately 2 months. Those are the facts of life, and that is the way it'll work out. So I hope you will have some time to miss me. And by the time we meet next time...
I have bad news for the Rav. Because of the technology that exists, we can't miss you because we're able to see you every single week. If something was taped 2-3 days earlier, still a new Torah, and we mishtasheh on your Torah in your absence. Sorry, I am sorry to say that.
Okay, so listen, I'm happy about that. I am happy about that. This is an amazing day and age, wherever you are. You know, we find an expression in Chazal, "Soisav dava voice b'keva." But today you don't need to wait for the keva. She has Soisav dava voice. Wherever I am, and every given hour, there are hundreds and thousands of people learning my Torah. And whenever I come, wherever it is in the entire world, people approach me and say, "I'm your Talmud Movek." It's the first time in my life we meet. And I ask people, how do I look better, in person or on the screen? I don't know. But the Torah is the same Torah. So, Reb Shlomo, I thank you for giving us this course. I think it is somewhat different if it's live. You know,
it is. No, there's no question. No question.
The interaction when it's live is somewhat different. I think it's different. But anyway, those are the facts of life. So the topic we will be discussing today, to me, it is one of the most fascinating chidushim which I'm proud of. And I will share this chiddush. It's not really tzitzis. It is about Birchas HaMitzvah. So first I'm sharing with you the Yesod, and then the ramifications of this Yesod in three different areas. First, the beginning of the Shir, the Yesod. What is the fundamental Yesod? I am a Chadish. Then we look back to last week's Shir, and we move forward to this week's Shir. And the Yesod is Birchas HaMitzvah is all about mitzvah and not about mitzvah. And the bracha is always associated with an act, a deed. And it is only when you engage in a mitzvah actively that you say the bracha. Any mitzvah you perform, you're mekayim in a passive mode, there is no bracha. And this Yesod manifests itself in three different areas. And I'm going to try to be very clear in today's Shir. I always try to be clear. It manifests itself in three different areas. At what stage of the mitzvah do we say a bracha? Number one. What stage of a mitzvah do we say the bracha? Number one. Number two. Do we at all say a bracha? Do we at all say a bracha? Or we're mekayim the mitzvah without a bracha? Number three, who says the bracha? The person that is mekayim the mitzvah, or the person that is engaged in the mitzvah, even though he isn't really mekayim the mitzvah? So remember these three Yesodos. Which stage of the mitzvah do you say the bracha? Who says the bracha? Do we at all say a bracha? And in these three areas, the Yesod is the same. Get it into your system. Get it into your mind. Birchas HaMitzvah is associated with mitzvah, not with mitzvah. Let's look back at last week's session. As you remember, we discussed the kasha of the Mogen Avraham. Mezuza and tzitzis have the same fundamental Yesod. Mezuza choyves adar, tzitzis choyves gaver. The person has 10 houses in his possession. It is only the home in which he lives that he is chayiv to put a mezuzah. A person has 10 begodim, 10 garments. Each of them is dalet kanfis. It is only the one that he's wearing that requires tzitzis. So the Mogen Avraham asks, why are the brachas different brachas? Why by tzitzis we say, lehisatev batzitzis, and by mezuzah we say, lekvoa mezuzah. The Mogen Avraham understands kviyas mezuzah is the equivalent of kshiras hatzitzis. If we say the bracha lehisatev batzitzis, we should say, lodu b'bayis yesh bo mezuzah. And the Mogen Avraham comes up with an amazing kiddush, and he says, that's right, that's right. The difference between tzitzis and mezuzah is only technicality. It is a practicality, a technicality, and not more. Because usually you're kaved mezuzah when you live in the house already. So b'shas kfiyas mezuzah, you have a mitzvah. But you also, you're kosher tzitzis before you wear the garment. So b'shas kfiyas tzitzis, you're not makayim a mitzvah. And therefore the Mogen Avraham paskins, if you're going to put up your mezuzah before you move into the house, when you move into the house, you say, Lodu b'bayis sheyesh bo mezuzah. And my comment last week was, we Ashkenazim always follow the Mogen Avraham. I'm an old man. My friends argue I'm not old. Whether you're old or not, that belongs to the general theory of relativity. But I'm not young. Never in my life have I ever heard a person saying a bracha shekadishonu b'mezuzah lodu b'bayis sheyesh bo mezuzah. Nobody heard. Ein halochik Mogen Avraham. Why not? That is the question. We always follow the Mogen Avraham. This is an exception. So the Bekiva Eger, it's right on our screen. Last week, we discussed this. He has two questions. When you move into a new house, and there's a mezuzah on the door, the previous owner was a frum yid, and he didn't remove the mezuzahs. So the Bekiva Eger says, for you, it's a new mitzvah. Chayvus Adar, you need to make a bracha. In the second paragraph, he says, you left your home for a few hours or a few days. When you move back into the house, you need to say a bracha. He doesn't say which bracha. Obviously, you can't say lekro mezuza because you're not kaveya the mezuzah. So it goes without saying that the Bekiva Eger follows in the footsteps of the Moran of Rome, and he maintains lo de babai shesh bo mezuzah. And then let's have a look at our screen. Paragraph number 3 of the Bekiva Eger. Achar zman rav. No. You went too far down. Up. More up. At the end of the Bekiva Eger, source number 2. Okay, here we are. Freeze. Achar zman rav. Bona yodei sefer Birchas Yosef. The Birchas Yosef is the Chido, the famous Chido. He was Roman Yerushalayim 250 years ago. Chido is Rosh Tevis, Chaim Yosef David Azulai. He was one of the greatest Gedolim, one of the most prolific Mechabrim. He wrote dozens of Svarim. Birchas Yosef is a Sefer Shechanoch. V'roisi shekosav b'pshitus, b'din harishon anal, l'sorcha ba'esh yesh bo mezuzah, eino mevorach. Lo yitiknu brocha, רק עכשיו קביעת המזוזה. וממילא גם הדין השני, ונושא המאירוי, ואחר כך חוזר לבייסוי, אינו מבורך. ולדינה, צורך עיון. ובקיבה is not convinced. So last week, we spoke about this at great length. What is the punchline? לעני הזדהיתי. Birchas HaMitzvah doesn't have to do with kiyum mitzvah, but rather with ma'aseh mitzvah. Living in a house that has a mezuzah is not a ma'aseh mitzvah. We would define it as such. It is a ma'aseh sha'al yoda mikayimim mitzvah. But living in a house is not a ma'aseh mitzvah. Every human being lives in a house, whether he's from or not from, Jewish or Gentile, black or white or yellow, doesn't matter. Living in a house, yesh bo mezuzah, is not defined as a ma'aseh mitzvah. Therefore, there is no such bracha as lodu b'bayis shesh bo mezuzah. Levishes atalis is a ma'aseh mitzvah, and that is the reason we make the bracha on this atev batzitzis, because that is a ma'aseh mitzvah. Lodu b'bayis shesh bo mezuzah is not a ma'aseh mitzvah. You're mekayim mitzvahs mezuzah in a passive mode. When you live in the house, you don't say a bracha on any mitzvah that is passive. Levishes abeged is an act, and therefore you say the bracha. So this brings us back to last week's shir, and now we move fast forward. The new Maramakamis that I sent this week, number 11. It might be the continuity of what we have on the screen. Might not be, might yes be. I'm a bit confused. Number 11, here we are. Wonderful. Number 11. Tov lamed beis, dinay bedikes chametz, bebrocha achas yochal livdoi kamo batim. Im balabayis roitza. יעמד מבני ביסו יצלו בשושם מבורך ויתפזרו לבדוק איש במקום else ברח ברוכה שברך בעל הבייס. Sometimes you have a big home and you're an old man like me, and it's hard for you to check all the rooms. So your family stands around the table, you say the brocha, and then each of them will do b'dikas chometz in his own room. Kosev Amagon Avraham, source number 12. Asor shoyse mitzvah achas brocha achas lekulam. Mashma, deim balabayis einoi boidik, רק מצווה לאחרים לבדוק, או יסר אחר מבורך. The Balabais can say a bracha only because he starts the bedika and he's engaged as well. But if he's lazy or he's really disabled and he's not going to be boidik at all, he can't say the bracha. In that case, his shaliach would say the bracha. And the Mogan of Rome wonders why. V'tzorach iyun hayech yevorach hu eina mitzvah muteles olav livdoik. ואין זה דומה לשויפה שתקיים מבורך, שאין עושם, ששמע ברוכה ויוצא בברכוסי. אבל אוכל, למה יבורך הבוידק? כיוון שאין המצווה עליו. So, how could the shliach say, אשר כדשונו במסויסה וציוונו, על ביר חומץ, it's not his house, it's not his chomets, he's merely a shliach. So why would the shliach say the brocha not the shliach? The Mogan of Rome writes, "V'doichak v'tzorach le'mideu kol mokom mitzvah ka'avi domi demila shamitzvah lavia benu makol mokom em achal ma'al ois yachem avorech." That's a sif in Hilchos Mila. It's a Gemara meforeshes and Psuchim Daf Zayin. The Moyer says the brocha shekelishono b'misoyse v'tzivonu ala mila. So the Mogan says, I don't understand why, but it's a Gemara. It's a Gemara. We can't argue against the Gemara and the Sif Meforsh and Shulchan Aruch. The mitzvah is on the father of the child. It's not on the Moel. But the Moel is the one that says the bracha, and the Moel of Rome wonders why. The Gemara, source number 13, the Gemara argues, how could you compare Mila to B'dikas Chometz? They're not the same at all. Mitzvahs Mila ein raya. ששם הם אין הואב מעל חיוב הם בייסדן לממלא, ולכן כל אחד יוכל לבורך. So, it's not similar to Mila. However, it is similar to Afroshus Tumas Amaisis. The Shliach says the bracha. But the Dugam Avava also doesn't explain why. So I'll explain why. And that is the second factor that I mentioned before. Who says the bracha? Not the one that's Mekayim the mitzvah, not the one that is niftar al yemei mitzvah, but the one that performs the mitzvah actively. And that is why the father is Yoitza. It's his child, it's his mitzvah, it's his son. But the moel is the one that does the milah. He says the bracha. The same by B'dikas Chometz. It's your house. It's your chiyuv. The shaliach doesn't have a mitzvah at all, but he's performing the mitzvah. And the bracha is attached to the ma'aseh mitzvah and not to kiyum mitzvah. Same by Afroshus Tumas Amaisis. So Beresh Perik Beis de Kiddushin, everybody remembers the mitzvah, Mishnah, Wish Mekadosh Boye B'Shluchoi. So who says the bracha if a person makes a shaliach to be Mekadosh's wife? Well, I never participated in a chuppah in which there was a shaliach. And the shaliach apologizes to the kala and he says, my dear kala, it's not me. But the chassan, he's busy. He has a meeting. He couldn't make it to the chuppah, so he sent me to the kiddushin. But by kiddushin, it's not relevant because anyway, the Messiah kiddushin says the bracha, not the mekadosh nor his shaliach. But meikar adin, it is the shaliach that will say the bracha. It's not his mitzvah. It's not his wife. But he does the ma'aseh mitzvah. And the bracha is associated not with kiyum mitzvah, but with ma'aseh mitzvah. And this is the second manifestation of my yisoyin. So in the previous sugya, tzitzis, vice versa, mezuza, the question was, at what stage of the mitzvah do we say the bracha? By mezuza, an earlier stage, kviyas mezuza. By tzitzis, a later stage, levishas a beged. Because the bracha needs to be juxtaposed to the ma'aseh mitzvah. Now we have sugya number 2. Who says the brocha? Not when, but who? So my explanation is very clear. It is always the person that's performing the mitzvah actively. He's not mekayim the mitzvah. It is not his mitzvah, but he's doing the act. He says the brocha, whether it's milah or bedikas chometz or hafroshes trumas amaises. That is the second manifestation. And now we scroll up to source number 10. Source number 10, here we are. Beis Yosef Tov Lamed Beis. It's just coincidence that both sources are Tov Lamed Beis, but it's a different sugya. V'yem toimar, asks Beis Yosef a question, Yevorech al bittul chometz. Why do you say the brocha on the bedika and not on the bitul? The question refers to Shittas Rambam and Rashi, that bittul chometz is the mitzvah of tashbisu. So the Beis Yosef asks, why do we say the brocha b'shas bedika and the nusach brocha is al bitul chometz, and we don't say a brocha al bittul chometz? V'yesh loimar mishum de bittul ava b'leiv ve'ein mavoch amad devorim shebelev. Ein mavoch amad devorim shebelev. Why not? It's a mitzvah. So this is criteria number 3, or manifestation number 3. I said number 1 is when to say the brocha. Number 2 is who says the brocha. Number 3 is, do we say a brocha at all? So the Beis Yosef says, there is no brocha al hirur haleiv. Why not? My feeling is, mitzvah. Birchas mitzvah is only on a mitzvah. Machshavas alev, your thoughts and your feeling are passive. In halacha, by halachic criteria, they're not defined as a mitzvah, and therefore there could be no brocha. Which brings us down to source 15. Let's scroll down. I think it's source 15. 14 and 15. That's a sif in Shulchan Aruch. Comes along the Gra and he disagrees. 15 calls that tzorech iyun. The Kanaina mavorach al mitzvah ki leka mitzvah behirun. V'lo ne'emar vo gisa v'yoyim v'layla rotzalayim v'layv. K'mo shekosav v'hegin libi. And therefore, why wouldn't he say a bracha? V'chileka mitzvah behirun. Halo ne'emar vo gisa v'yoyim v'layla. So the Gaon argues, you're Makayim and mitzvah with machshavas alev, with it alev. Why wouldn't you say a bracha? And I say, Beis Yosef l'shitosai. Beis Yosef l'shitosai. Just like bittul chometz, the Beis Yosef explains Tov Lamed Beis, you can't say a bracha on hirur, dvorim shebelev, you don't say a bracha. Same regarding Talmud Torah. The Beis Yosef agrees with the Gra. Of course he's Mekayim a mitzvah. He's Mekayim a mitzvah, but he can't say a bracha. Because the bracha is always on Ma'isa mitzvah. And the Beis Yosef l'shetosai, Tov Lamed Beis Dina B'dikas Chometz, Mem Zayin, Dina Birchas HaTorah. And that is the third manifestation of the same Yesod. Birchas mitzvah is always associated not with Kiyah mitzvah, but rather with Ma'isa mitzvah. And this Yesod, its expression or manifestation or ramification, you can use a lot of different words. I come to explain 3 different areas. In each of these areas, there is confusion. Mogen Avraham asks, why is the bracha of tzitzis different than mezuza? And I say, Ma'isa mitzvah. Levisha sabegid is Ma'isa mitzvah, so we say l'sata v'tzitzis. Living in a house is not a Ma'isa mitzvah, and therefore there is no bracha Lo de babai shesh bo mezuza. And the Birkei Yosef is right, but I explain why. Manifestation number 2 is who says the bracha. The one, it is his mitzvah, or the shliach that performs the mitzvah. And as we see, Mila, B'dikis Chometz,
Daniel, you know how to fix that.
In all these 3 areas, the shliach is the one that says the bracha. Mogen Avraham wonders why. Everybody wonders why. The Mishnah Brura has a gewaltige doichik. He says that the shliach for B'dikis Chometz is also a shliach for the bracha. But there is no shlichus by brachas or by tefillas. But if you're shliach on the mitzvah, the shlichus will also apply to the bracha, which is a big doichik. And I say, Loi kosher midei, kushi mi koreleise. Because the bracha comes together with the mitzvah. And manifestation number 3, the machlokes Shulchan Aruch and the Quran, the Mahara b'divrei Torah. The Chama says there is no bracha. The Gaon wonders why. He's Makayim a mitzvah, and I say the Yosef agrees. Of course, he's Makayim a mitzvah. Ein bracha and the Borim Shebelev and the Yosef l'shitosef from Simen Tov Lamed Beis. The last source on our sheet is Rabbi Kiva Eger, dealing with an interesting question. It's a Gemara Mefureshes in Gittin Daf Lamed, and many sources in Shas. Trumeni teres b'machshava. So Rabbi Kiva Eger wonders, when you are mafresh truma machshava, do you say a bracha or not? The Beis Yosef says you never say a bracha to Borim Shebelev. Mafresh truma, do you say a bracha? Rabbi Kiva Eger assumes yes, and he says 2 drochim explaining why. All drochim are questionable. So, lecha oira, based on our discussion, we would say you don't say a bracha, just like bitul chometz, just like mahara b'divrei Torah. Might be different. Ikar derech hafroshes trobes b'maisa, because at the end of the day, after afrosh, you have the mitzvah of nesina. Whatever your mafresh, truma goes to the kohen, maser rishon goes to the Levi. Maser trumas ma'aser goes from the Levi to the kohen. Maser oni goes to the poor and the desperate. Maser sheni you need to bring to Yerushalayim. So after afrosh, you have a mitzvah of nesina. So afrosh's truma does necessitate a ma'aser at some stage, not at the initial stage. But this is a mitzvah which necessitates a ma'aser, and maybe therefore, even though you're Makayim b'machshava, you would say the bracha, because this is a mitzvah sheba ma'aser. Ma'aser enkem bitul chometz, kol koloi belev. The lashon of Chazal is mevatloi beliboy. It is a mitzvah to verbalize bitul chometz. But mitzad etzem tikkun Chazal mevatloi beliboy, therefore there's no mitzvah. Talmud Torah is somewhere in the middle between Turbas Amaisis and bitul chometz. Talmud Torah, preferable to verbalize, to vocalize. That's a more native in Nuances. But that's just the skula. Mitzad kiyum mitzvah Talmud Torah, it is ikar or believe. Because learning Torah is understanding Torah. And Torah is not like tefillah. You need to say whether you understand or not. I think Talmud Torah is ikroi believe. It is about the ideas of Torah and havonas of Torah. And that is why first Tumas Amaisis might be somewhat different than Bitul Chometz and Talmud Torah. Bitul Chometz and Talmud Torah, the ikra mitzvah is believe. Masha ein kain, first Tumas Amaisis, the ikra mitzvah would be al yedei ma'aser. However, you could be yoitzer without a ma'aser. So once again, the focus of today's shir is the Yesod Godel, and never la'aniyas daiti. I'm not aware that anybody came up with this yesod and definitely not bringing together the various sugyas that achieve a new life and a new light by the yesod that we share. It's a new light and a new concept, and it explains three different sugyas. Just to wrap it up and to summarize it all. At what stage of the mitzvah do we say the bracha? The difference between tzitzis and mezuza. And in this case, the question would be when to say the bracha. Number two, who says the bracha? The shliach or the mishalech? Magen Avraham wonders, how would the shliach say a bracha? It's not his mitzvah. And I say, doesn't matter whether it's his mitzvah. He's the one that actively performs the mitzvah. And that goes for Mila, B'dikas Chometz, Froshes Tumas Amaisis, across the board. And the third question would be mitzvah that a person performs b'liboy. But the Yosef Yesai, we don't say a bracha and dvarim shebalev. And the Yesod is the same Yesod in all three different sugyas. And this Yesod manifests itself in different ways. Birchas and mitzvah is associated with Weiss mitzvah and not with kiyum mitzvah. So this is our sugya for today. So let me just share a very brief thought, which is also a relevant thought. So in many shuls, including in our shul we gave a kiddush to Shabbos. Some shuls say Hallel, other shuls said Nishmas. I'm not for that. I think we need to be very careful adding on new tefillas. There are 1,000 ways to thank a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You don't need to say Hallel, you don't need to say Nishmas. But when you're thankful, you do want to express thankfulness. You do want to express gratitude. So we gave a kiddush, and I spoke divrei chizuk. On the other hand, the war is still going on. Today, a young soldier was killed. In this month, which is drawing to an end, we lost 20 young soldiers who were killed just in this month. So on one hand, we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu profoundly for his mitzvah, and as I say, on a steady basis, Moidu ala ova v'tzoyek ala osid. Medish Tanchuma, there's a unique interpretation of the beginning of this week's parasha. Chaim, you want to walk over to the bookcase, open the fourth door from the bottom. You open from the bottom. There's a chumash. No. The chumash in the wrapping. Third floor. Take out of the middle chumash. Oh, I already took it out. It's on the table, on top of those spawn, a little pile. So in the beginning of this week's parasha, when the Torah describes the mitzvah of Pora Aduma, so is chokas HaTorah. Vayikro alecho Pora Aduma Tmimo, asher ein ba mum, asher lo y'olu alei ha'or, u'nesatam oizam el alos ha'koyim, ba'oitz yotzor chutz lamachna. Medish Tanchuma has an amazing interpretation, and a sad one. The pasuk refers to our story. Pora adumot mimosei Yisrael, od mu'etzem mepninim. Asher ein ba mum, kulcho yofor ro'isi, umum ein bach. So the Pora is a remez to the Jewish people. Asher lo y'olu alei ha'oil. We had wonderful days of glory, and then we went into Golos. When Atata Moisa el Elazar HaKoyen is Yirmiyahu Hanavi, HaKoyen Asher Ba'anosos. והויצי אויסה אל מחוץ למחנה is galus. V'shochat oisa lefonav is tzedkiyu abonav, the king of Israel that was murdered by the Babylonians. V'lokach halos al hakoyim edoma betzvoi. V'saraf esapora is Sreifas Beis HaMikdash, the destruction and the burning of the Beis HaMikdash. And then ultimately, Behizah, Ba'osaf Ishtoher, that will be Mashiach Tzidkenu, and he will bring together the people back to Eretz Yisrael. So in Medrash Tanchuma, there's another interpretation of this verse. And when Rashi writes, and Chazal say, so is chukas HaTorah, chukim chukakti, gzeres gozarti, ve'en lecho reshus lahara lachareya. It also goes to the pshat of Medrash Tanchuma. And we ask, if we are the chosen people, we are the Am HaNivchar, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us more than he loves all the others. Why is this our destiny, to suffer more than all the others? We've been here before all the others. We'll be here after all the others. We are the people of eternity. But our story goes from one tragedy to another. Goyla achar goyla. Goyla v'suro. And most of our days we spent in Golos. It is only a very short period that we had days of glory in Eretz Yisrael. Weiss Rishon, Weiss Sheni. Out of our long and torturous story, we spent 830 years with the Beis HaMikdash. That's all. So the Pasuk says, you might have questions. There are no answers. Chukim chukati, gzeres gozarti, ve'en lecho reshus lahara lachareya. That's our challenge. That's our avodah. That's our greatness. That's our power. Believing in a HaKadosh Baruch Hu throughout all this journey and staying steadfast in our emunah and our betochen. Ve'af al pi sheyismamea im kol zeh achak aloi b'chol yom sheyavo. Shenizke b'kol b'yomeinu. Va'osaf es toar es efer hapora el mokom toher. Like the Tanchuma says, Mashiach Tzidkenu will bring us all back together. El mokom toar liyushalayim yirakodesh b'bias koel tzedek b'mheiro b'yomeinu amen.